Discover the incredible rescue. Ginger puppy saves hidden tiny squirrel in a heartwarming reunion. Benny, a spirited ginger puppy with a heart as big as the sky, darted through the blooming fields of the Wilson family farm like a flash of sunshine. His little paws pitter-pattered against the ground, excitement radiating from his wagging tail. Benny was more than just a pet. He was a beacon of life for the Wilsons, a family wrestling with the storms of financial strain. They loved their land, cherished their heritage, but uncertainty loomed like dark clouds overhead, threatening to rain on their dreams. One glorious sunny afternoon, as Benny explored the vibrant greens and golden grains, he stumbled upon something he never expected: a terrified baby squirrel, shivering and alone. The little creature's beady eyes were wide with fear, and Benny's heart swelled with compassion. He approached slowly, tail wagging, careful to show that he meant no harm. The sight of that frightened squirrel reminded him of the Wilson's struggles, a living creature in need of hope, much like his own family. Benny stood tall, a protector in the wild, feeling the weight of his loyalty pressing against his chest. He knew he had to help. The bond that formed between them blossomed instantly, Benny's warmth enveloping the tiny creature, a shield against the harsh world outside. He whimpered softly, feeling the squirrel's pain and longing for its mother. It was a reflection of everything the Wilsons faced, the cracks that had begun to appear in their unity fueled by misunderstandings and the suffocating pressure to hold tight their cherished values. As weeks passed, Benny's attempts to reunite the baby squirrel with its mother escalated into chaotic adventures filled with missteps. His bravery led him deeper into the woods, where dangers lurked. Tension brewed at home as worry turned into arguments between the Wilsons. You need to focus on what's important. Loud voices echoed, hardening into discord. Benny, with each daring leap, felt the tightening knots in his chest. The family's love hung delicately in the balance, just like the squirrel's future. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, drop a like. It really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Benny's health began to suffer. He'd risked everything to save the baby squirrel, but with each dip and dive, he felt weakness creeping in. The Wilsons, witnessing their beloved pup grow frail, were filled with sorrow. Their unity shattered. They realized the true nature of their struggle. Could they find strength in vulnerability? The community, noticing their plight, began to rally together. Neighbors turned out with offerings of support and compassion, rekindling the spirit of neighborly love that had always defined their little town. Just when hope shimmered between the cracks, a new hurdle emerged: a fear that perhaps loyalty had a cost too high. As Benny stood at the forest's edge one last time, eyes filled with determination and a flickering light of hope, the Wilsons faced a choice that could either forge unbreakable bonds or deepen their divides. What would it take to find their way back home amid chaos and uncertainty? The answer lingered in the air, waiting just beyond the horizon. As dusk settled over the Wilson farm, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it the scents of earth and hay. Benny, panting softly, looked up at the sky streaked with soft shades of orange and purple. He felt a flicker of resolve deep within his chest. Baby's krandi kun give out. But as he felt the weight of exhaustion pull at his bones, anxiety gripped him. Would he be strong enough to continue this mission? Back at the house, the Wilsons stood in the kitchen, the clatter of dishes replaced by a rare silence. Each member grappled with their own thoughts, and the air was thick with unresolved feelings. Clara, the youngest, brushed away a tear, wishing Benny could understand how much they loved him. He's trying so hard. She whispered, her gaze lingering at the door he often dashed through, tail wagging like a flag of bravery. Tom, the father, leaned against the counter, the weight of their struggles evident on his tired face. We have to do something, he said, voice low but edged with frustration. This isn't just about Benny, it's about us, too. His words hung heavy in the air, breaking the silence and sparking a fire within Linda, his wife. Maybe we should support him instead of arguing about how to focus on what's important, she replied, her tone firm. Benny believes in love and hope, a lesson we're forgetting. Then something clicked inside Tom. He recalled the fierce loyalty and love Benny had shown while chasing after that little squirrel. That's what family meant, fighting for each other. He pulled Linda close, both seeking shared warmth. You're right. We can't let stress push us apart. Let's come together for Benny and for each other. Outside, as shadows lengthened, Benny made his way into the underbrush once more. He paused, ears perked up at the sounds around him, the rustling whispers of the forest cocooning him in its embrace. The darkness wasn't so frightening when you had purpose. He followed a faint sound of soft chittering that stoked the embers of hope in his heart. Could it be? Suddenly, Benny spotted the tiny squirrel near the base of a tree. It was alone, calling softly, searching. Benny rushed forward, his spirit renewed. But just as he lunged, a sharp crack echoed through the stillness. Benny froze, heart racing. Was it just a fallen branch, or was something more sinister lurking nearby? As he scanned the surrounding woods, a shadow emerged, tall and menacing, a hungry hawk circling overhead. Benny's fur bristled. He understood the gravity of the moment. His instinct kicked in. Danger surged through him, and with a growl, he positioned himself between the hawk and the helpless squirrel. It was a standoff, a clash of sheer determination versus primal instinct. As Benny faced the threat, he thought of the Wilsons, the fierce love they all shared. Could he protect the squirrel like he'd protect his family? With fierce determination burning in his chest, Benny prepared to defend what mattered most. Just then, the Wilsons burst through the trees, their voices calling for Benny, for their family. Would they arrive in time to help him? The tension hung in the air, heavy as their choices loomed ahead. Would the bond forged by love be enough to face the threats of the wild? The moment was charged with emotion, and hope flickered in the dark as the stakes grew higher. Would Benny's bravery unite, not only him and the tiny squirrel, but also the fractured Wilsons? Or would the looming shadows swallow them all? The answer trembled just out of reach, waiting and watching. Benny stood unwavering, eyes locked on the hawk sailing ominously overhead. The creature was a stark silhouette against the deepening twilight, and Benny could feel the tension buzzing in the air. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat, to flee from the approaching danger. But behind him lay the tiny squirrel, shivering and vulnerable, its wide eyes searching for safety. Just as Benny readied himself for what was to come, he heard the familiar, Voices of the Wilsons. Benny. Clara's voice rang out, pure and urgent, cutting through Benny's focus like a knife. The sound wrapped around him, filling him with warmth and as light as the evening breeze. He turned slightly and saw Tom and Linda charging through the underbrush, Clara trailing just behind. Their faces were etched with concern, and their presence brought Benny renewed strength. The hawk paused, glancing at the oncoming family, and Benny seized that moment. "I've got to protect them too," he thought. He growled lowly, taking a step forward. Every muscle tensed, a coiled spring ready to unleash. The hawk, sensing the challenge, narrowed its focus, wings flapping as it prepared for an aerial strike. "Stop!" Tom shouted, instinctively leaping forward. He caught the hawk's attention. "Get back!" His voice rang with authority, and the hawk hesitated, momentarily disoriented by the unexpected human presence. Benny took the opportunity. With one bounding leap, he dashed to the tiny squirrel, settling beside it protectively. The linkage felt electric between him, the squirrel, and the Wilsons. It was as if their hearts beat in unison, rallying against the danger above them. "Come on, Benny!" Clara cried out, her voice infused with determination. "We can do this together." It was a simple phrase, but to Benny it felt monumental. The weight of responsibility shifted, blending into a river of shared courage. He felt the toxic threat of fear recede, replaced by something stronger, a fierce love and commitment. The hawk, realizing it had been outmaneuvered, began to circle lower, and with a desperate heart, Benny growled again, this time louder, defiance thick in his throat. He was more than just a dog now. He was a defender, united with his family. Tom and Linda pushed closer, brandishing branches from the ground as makeshift shields. They stood shoulder to shoulder, impenetrable as one unit, facing the predator together. "We won't let you take him," Tom shouted, brandishing his branch upward, creating a larger silhouette for the hawk to assess. The hawk's talons glimmered in the fading light, but now it was nightfall's silence broken only by determined cries. It wheeled once more, assessing its prey, but the courage displayed by Benny and the Wilsons seemed to challenge even nature itself. With a final flap, the hawk veered away, vanishing into the depths of the darkening sky. It left only a rush of wind in its wake, and the family stood still, hearts pounding, the victory echoing in their chests. Benny turned to the small creature beside him, eyes wide and fearful, yet shining with hope. Inali, a-t-il reassurance? Clara knelt beside them, taking in the squirrel's frailty with tender eyes. "You're okay," she murmured, brushing her fingers across its tiny head. But just as they began to relax, Benny's ears perked at the sounds approaching behind them, a rustle in the brush, something larger than life encroaching on their fragile moment. What new threat lingered in the shadows? Would Benny and the Wilsons have enough strength left to face it together? Benny's body tensed again, muscles coiling at the unsettling noise drifting from the tree line. A sudden chill crept through him, and he instinctively moved closer to Clara. She looked up, eyes wide, scanning the darkening woods. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, urgency woven through her voice. The squirrel flinched, its tiny heart racing in tune with Benny's, who felt a mix of protectiveness and anxiety swell within him. "Stay together," Tom said firmly as he tightened his grip on his branch. Glancing towards Linda, she nodded, signaling readiness by stepping closer to her family. The quiet rustling grew louder, more insistent. It was as if the forest itself was warning them of an unseen threat. Benny shifted, his gaze darting through the foliage. The shadows danced, teasing his imagination. Another rustle, then a snap of a twig. Whatever was lurking was drawing nearer, blending seamlessly into the twilight. Let's find out what it is, Linda urged, her voice breaking the collective tension like a bell ringing in a quiet room. Wait, Tom motioned for everyone to hold their ground. We don't know what it is yet. Benny sensed the fear rising in Clara. She moved closer to him, her small fingers curling into his fur. A wave of calm enveloped them both. Standing firm wasn't just a choice. It was their only option. Out of the darkness, a pair of bright eyes emerged, reflecting what little light remained. Benny's heart raced. He instinctively barked, a loud sound echoing through the trees. The eyes blinked, then the larger form stepped forward, tall, lean, and undeniably majestic. A deer, its slender legs moved gracefully, its frame silhouetted against the last flickers of sunlight. Benny's tension eased, though the deer appeared startled, glancing between the family and the tiny squirrel. Just a deer, Tom breathed, relief washing over him. Clara giggled, the sound light and airy, pushing away the heaviness that had settled in the air. It's not a bad thing, Benny, she said, all smiles now. Look how pretty. But the deer didn't stay calm. It hesitated as if considering whether to run. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the bushes. The hairs on the back of Benny's neck bristled. Not again, he thought, straining to identify the source of the feral sound. Through the thick brush, another animal emerged, a coyote. Its eyes gleaming with hunger, lips curling back to reveal sharp teeth. Instinct flooded Benny, pushing him into a low growl. The scent of danger was palpable, thickening the air around them. Stay back, Tom warned, moving protectively in front of Clara and the squirrel, branch raised like a shield, but Benny could see the doubt in his face. The coyote stalked closer, its movements predatory, revealing its intent. Benny let out a louder bark, trying to drown out the fear threatening to overwhelm him. Run, Linda shouted, her voice carried by the wind. Get the squirrel to safety. But in that moment, where fear clouded judgment, the squirrel peered out from under Benny. The tiny creature clung to the ground. Frozen in confusion, torn between fleeing and finding solace, Benny felt its tiny heart racing, mirroring the chaos unfolding. Benny, Clara cried. It was time. No more hesitation. Benny took a deep breath, determination lighting a fire in his belly. Facing the coyote would require everything he had. He couldn't allow the predator to harm his family or the fragile creature beside him. He steeled himself, ready to defend against a threat much larger than himself. With a bark that echoed through the trees, Benny surged forward. But in this desperate moment, would he be able to protect them all? The standoff had only just begun. Benny lunged, his paws pounding the ground as he barreled toward the coyote. Fear flickered like a candle in the back of his mind, but his instincts roared louder. The coyote's growl deepened. It turned its gaze from the deer to Benny, a flicker of surprise crossing its sharp features. Benny! Clara's voice rang out, pleading. She could sense the danger escalating, the air crackling with tension. It pushed him harder, more determined. The coyote's posture shifted. It wasn't expecting such a bold response. Benny skidded to a stop, positioning himself between his family and the looming threat. The deer, sensing the escalating tension, bounded back, vanishing into the underbrush. With a low growl rumbling from deep within him, Benny faced the coyote, teeth bared. The creature circled, assessing this unexpected challenger. Benny could feel his heart pounding, each beat echoing the stakes of the moment. "Benny, don't!" Tom shouted, his voice laced with urgent worry. "Get back!" But Benny wasn't retreating. Not today. Staring down the coyote, Benny felt a rush of strength surge through him. The coyote hesitated, seemingly weighing its options. It might have seen fear in Benny's eyes, but it also saw the fierceness of a protector. A loud crack of a branch echoed in the silence. It startled both the coyote and Benny, causing him to glance back towards Clara and the others. Instinctively, Benny's ears perked up. He could see Clara and Linda, their faces drawn tight in concern, their fear blazing as they clung to one another. "Benny, please." Clara's plea struck a chord in his heart. That's what he was fighting for, her safety. But the coyote was shifting again, hungry and restless. Its eyes glimmered, filled with a wild predatory light. "Make a noise. Anything." Tom urged, his grip tightening on the branch, desperation edging his voice. Benny's mind raced. He couldn't let them down. He had to draw the coyote's attention away. Channeling every ounce of courage, he launched into a symphony of barks that reverberated through the woods, echoing like thunder. The coyote paused, instinctively turning toward the noise, its ears twitching. Benny took a step forward, growing louder, more aggressive, daring the coyote to make a move. "Get away, you coward," was the defiance that coursed through him, fueling his bravery. Then, the coyote lunged, its sleek body a blur of motion. Benny braced himself, his muscles tensing, ready for the impact. But at that moment, a brilliant flash of white raced from the bush another dog, a golden retriever. The golden fur glimmered against the fading light as it barreled into the coyote, teeth snapping just inches from its snout. The unexpected arrival caught both Benny and the coyote off guard. What in the world? Benny thought, surprised but overjoyed. This dog was a stalwart ally. The coyote stumbled, its focus shifting from Benny to the newcomer. And as the golden retriever growled fiercely, Benny seized the opportunity to support his unexpected partner, surging forward to stand shoulder to shoulder. "The deer!" Linda shouted suddenly, pointing at the clearing beyond them. Benny's heart raced as he saw the deer now alert, ready to dash away. But would they all be able to escape safely? Would their newfound ally be enough to turn the tide against the predator lurking in their midst? Benny looked to the golden retriever, feeling a kinship spark between them. Together, they were stronger. But a deeper question lingered. Where had this dog come from, and could they navigate this danger together? The answer lay just beyond reach, wrapped in the shadow of the trees, under the ever-watchful stars. With a fierce snap of its jaws, the coyote turned fully towards the golden retriever, its attention no longer divided. Benny's heart raced as he felt the rush of adrenaline flowing through him like a tide. They couldn't waste this moment. Together, Benny said in his own way, exchanging glances with the golden retriever. Their eyes locked, a silent agreement passed between them. They would face the predator united. The coyote, sensing its change in fortune, regained its balance and growled again. A deep, threatening sound that echoed through the clearing. It was all muscle and hunger, conditioned by the wilderness to hunt, but it was also now faced with a double threat. Benny sprang forward. "Get back!" Tom shouted again, but Benny barely heard him over the rush of his own heartbeat. He knew what he had to do. If he could just keep the coyote engaged long enough for the others to escape. The golden retriever, whose name Benny hoped to learn soon, mimicked his movement, launching itself beside him. Together, they dashed toward the coyote, barking ferociously. The noise pulsed in the air, a mixture of growls and barks that rattled the trees. The coyote hesitated just long enough, its instinctual response battling with an unexpected wariness. Benny used that fleeting hesitation to circle wide and then charge directly at it, snarling fiercely. They had to strike fear into the beast. "Now!" yelled Linda, her voice cutting through the chaos. Benny felt Clara shift behind them. The golden retriever lunged again, this time attempting to nip the coyote's hind leg. It was a calculated risk, a flanking maneuver that startled the coyote further. As it twisted to address the new threat, Benny seized the opportunity. With a powerful leap, he sank his teeth into the coyote's side. The taste of wild fur and earthy dread filled his mouth. And Benny immediately released, recoiling and barking fiercely again. The coyote yelped, a sound of raw surprise that echoed through the clearing. "Let's go, now." Tom shouted again, the urgency in his voice rising as the moments stretched. Benny glanced back, watching as Clara and Linda began backing away slowly, urging their footsteps to be steady but quick. The deer had seized its chance as well, careening into the underbrush, blending into the twilight. "Come on." The golden retriever barked, signaling for Benny to retreat. The coyote, realizing its advantage was gone, growled one last time before turning away, its fierce pride retreating alongside its pride. Together, Benny and the golden retriever rounded back, urged by instinct and camaraderie. Their hearts raced, equal parts fear and exhilaration flooding through them. "Where did you come from?" Benny managed to bark, panting heavily as they regrouped near Clara and Tom. The golden retriever looked oddly pleased with itself, tail wagging despite the confrontation. "I'm Ginger," the retriever replied, her voice steady and warm. "I saw you guys from a distance and, well, I couldn't just watch. It looked dangerous." "Thank you," Clara exclaimed, bending down to pet both dogs, her voice a soft blend of gratitude and admiration. Benny's heart swelled. The power of community was immeasurable. They had faced danger together, but what would this new friendship mean? Where could Ginger lead him? Just then, a loud rustle in the bush brought everyone's attention back to the woods. What else awaited them in the shadows? They were safe for now, but perhaps more challenges lay ahead. And Benny couldn't shake off the feeling that there was a larger mystery to uncover about Ginger's arrival. What other secrets did the night hold? Benny's ears perked up at the sound, his instincts sharpening once more. The rustle was close, too close for comfort. Clara's voice broke the charged silence as she took a cautious step backward, her eyes wide with apprehension. "Could it be another predator?" she whispered, glancing nervously at Ginger. Benny felt a pulse of urgency, and his body tensed. He exchanged a quick look with Ginger, who seemed equally alert. They had faced down a significant threat together, but they understood that danger could strike again in different forms. With a shared nod, they moved closer to Clara and Tom, prepared to protect their newfound family if needed. The bush trembled once more, then parted to reveal a small, trembling creature. Benny's heart sank, and he almost let out a whimper at the sight. It was a tiny squirrel, no larger than his paw, its fur matted and eyes wide with fear. "Poor thing," Clara said, her voice softening. The squirrel froze, its little chest heaving with every frightened breath. Benny felt a surge of compassion. He had been in a vulnerable position before. He remembered how terrifying it was to feel small and exposed. "He needs help," Ginger said, taking a tentative step forward. "Wait," Tom warned. "It might be scared. Let's try to calm it down first." Ginger nodded, lowering head slightly, her golden fetching dim light filtering through the trees. Benny mirrored her motion, crouching down, trying to appear less threatening. "Hey, little one," Clara said gently, kneeling closer to the ground. "It's okay. You're safe now. We won't hurt you." Benny felt something shift in the air. He saw the squirrel's nose twitch as curiosity began to creep in, measuring the intentions of the two dogs and the humans. Benny let out a low whine, encouraging the squirrel to take a chance. "Just a little closer," Tom coaxed, extending a hand but keeping it still. "You can do it." With careful, tentative steps, the squirrel inched forward, hesitating every few moments, clearly battling between trust and fear. Finally, it crossed a small distance, coming closer and closer to the warmth radiating from the group. The tension was almost unbearable. Ginger gave a small yip of encouragement, and Benny felt the urge to nudge the squirrel to reassure it. He stepped towards the little creature, and just as he did, its small body jumped and scurried closer. In an instant the squirrel stopped short as Ginger's paw. It looked up, eyes wide, and Benny could sense the realization settling within it. They were not foes but friends. Relief washed over him. Then, in a sudden movement, the squirrel darted in a playful circle, creeping closer and closer until it was safely tucked against Ginger's warm side. Benny's heart swelled. Itty they were, a ragtag team of mismatched creatures, brought together by circumstance and compassion. "Looks like we have a little friend now," Clara chuckled, her eyes sparkling. As they all shared a brief moment of laughter and connection, the shadows of the forest rippled behind them again. Benny felt a cold shiver skitter down his spine. What else lurks in the dark tonight? He wondered, straining to catch any suspicious sounds. Ginger leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together, right?" Benny's heart agreed, but he felt a flicker of uncertainty. What would they have to confront next? And could they protect their newly found friend from whatever threats might rise again from the shadows? The moment hung heavily in the air, the laughter fading into the dimness of the forest. Benny stood guard, his senses heightened, scanning the shadows that danced between the trees. The warmth of the little squirrel by Ginger's side was a beacon of hope, but the chill in the air sent waves of anxiety through him. "What do you think it is?" Tom whispered, glancing at Clara, who was biting her lip, her eyes darting around. The tension was thick enough to slice. "I don't know, but we need to stay alert. If the squirrel is here, it means something else might be too," Clara replied, her voice steady yet betraying her fear. Benny nudged the squirrel gently with his nose, a soft encouragement. The tiny creature huddled closer to Ginger, taking comfort in the warmth of her fur, Benny's heart swelled with a mix of love and protectiveness. They had faced danger before, but this felt different. There was an energy in the air that hinted at a larger threat. Then, there was a low growl that echoed through the trees, sending chills down Benny's spine. It was a sound he recognized, a sound that sent shivers of dread straight to his core. It can't be, he thought, scanning the tree line. Stay close, Ginger whispered, her body tense. The air crackled with fear. In that moment, the tiny squirrel scampered up Ginger's back, nestling into her fur as if seeking sanctuary. Clara reached down, her hand brushing against Ginger's side, as if the warmth of touch could ward off the looming dread. It sounds bigger than before, Tom said, his eyes wide. We should find cover. Benny agreed, but moving meant leaving their new friend vulnerable. The group shifted together, instinctively forming a protective circle, their eyes glued to the dark where the sound had come from. Another growl echoed, deeper this time, and the underbrush cracked. Suddenly, a pair of gleaming eyes appeared, sharp and menacing. Benny's heart raced, the adrenaline flooding his veins. Stand your ground. Ginger barked a fierce determination in her voice. They wouldn't let fear win. Benny stepped forward, instincts kicking in, ready to protect Clara, Tom, and their little friend. As the creature emerged from the shadows, its size formidable, Benny realized just how small and vulnerable he felt in that moment. Still, he stood firm. Together, he thought, reminding himself of their bond. The creature was massive, a wolf with fur that shimmered under the pale light filtering through the trees. It slowly stalked forward, sizing up the group, and Benny's heart sank. Memories of past encounters flooded back, moments filled with dread and loss. But there was something in the wolf's gaze, too. Not purely predatory, it was almost curious. Benny, Clara's voice broke through his thoughts. What do we do? Maybe, if we show we mean no harm. We can coexist for now, he suggested, glancing at Ginger, who gave a determined nod. Just as they prepared to stand their ground, the wolf took a step back, its growl turning into a hesitant whine. Benny glanced to where the squirrel had hidden, and for a split second, he felt a flicker of understanding pass between them. What is happening? Tom breathed, searching for answers in the shadows. Before Benny could respond, it happened. The wolf's demeanor shifted, and Benny couldn't help but think maybe, just maybe, hope lingered in the darkness. What could possibly happen next? Would they find a way to communicate, or would this be the end of their group? The forest felt alive with lingering questions. Would the bond they had built be strong enough to weather whatever storm approached? The wolf's growl faded, replaced by a subtle stillness in the air. Benny felt his heart pounding in his chest as he remained alert, focused on the enormous creature before him. The eyes that had once glinted with predatory focus now softened, revealing a sense of pent-up longing. It was an odd mix of vulnerability and strength. What do you think it wants? Clara whispered, her voice barely a breath. Ginger shifted slightly, her gaze locked on the wolf. I don't know, but maybe it's not here to harm us. She took a small step forward, as brave as ever. As if sensing her intention, the wolf leaned closer, its nose twitching as it caught the scent of Ginger and the group. Benny felt the tension in his muscles ease just a fraction. What if their shared connection to nature, however fleeting, could create a bridge between them? In that moment the little squirrel peeked out from the safety of Ginger's fur. It squeaked softly, its tiny body trembling. Benny held his breath, willing it to stay calm. The wolf's ears perked up, noticing the small creature with keen interest, yet it didn't lunge. It stayed, rooted in place, observing with a mixture of curiosity and caution. I think it wants to help, Benny whispered, surprising even himself. The forest was a realm ruled by instinct, but perhaps there was more beneath the surface of this encounter than mere survival. Ginger took another step, her tail wagging ever so slightly. The wolf's body shifted, a hint of non-threatening curiosity, replacing the aggressive stance. Benny felt a swell of hope. Could they unite in this moment of uncertainty? The squirrel, encouraged by the gentle way the wolf regarded them, took a tentative leap onto the ground. It stood in the open, twitching its nose in the direction of the wolf, an owl-like simplicity in its innocence. Time felt suspended. The wolf lowered its massive head to meet the squirrel's gaze. Benny watched in rapt attention, desperate for peace, praying for a sign that their unplanned gathering could turn into something beautiful. The forest seemed to hold its breath, too, almost as if it sensed the weight of the moment's potential. With a small tentative gesture, dit. Its eyes reflecting the innocence of the little creature before it, Clara's breath caught in her throat. Tom inched closer to her, heart racing in disbelief. They were on the brink of a mysterious connection. Then it happened. The squirrel, twitching with curiosity, padded toward the wolf's outstretched paw, a dance of trust unfolding between the two unlikely allies. Benny's heart raced, tears stinging his eyes as he watched something remarkable grow right in front of him, a connection built not on fear, but on mutual understanding. But just when it seemed that harmony might blossom, a rustling sound shattered the tranquility. Leaves rustled violently, and the wolf's head snapped up, alert and rigid again. All eyes turned to the source of the noise, the atmosphere thickening once more with tension and urgency. What was that? Clara whispered, her grip tightening around Ginger. Benny felt a wave of dread wash over him. The calm they had fought for was hanging by a thread, now teetering perilously. Could the wolf protect them from whatever was looming just beyond the tree line? As shadows moved and new shapes emerged, a feeling of dread settled over Benny. Was their fragile alliance enough to face what was coming next? The ground trembled underfoot, and Benny's instinct kicked in. He couldn't just stand by. As he prepared to act, a low growl rumbled from the wolf's throat, aligning it with their causa-united stand against the impending threat. Would they face this challenge together, or would fear once again tear them apart? The bush shook violently, and out from the shadows lunged a pack of wolves. Their howls sliced through the air like thunder, and Benny's heart raced as alarm coursed through him. He looked at Ginger, who stood firm beside him, eyes wide but unwavering, her presence grounding him. Stay close, Tom ordered, gripping his branch tightly as he positioned himself protectively in front of Clara and the new little squirrel friend, whose wide eyes mirrored Benny's fear. The alpha, wolf from the pack, stepped forward, its gaze piercing yet cautious. Benny could feel the tension in the air, a thick web of uncertainty and fear, but there was also a flicker of something deeper. The alpha wasn't here just to dominate. It was deciding whether to act or observe, an ancient instinct that Benny felt he could understand. Remember what we discussed, the first wolf said, glancing back at the pack, who seemed to hesitate. Establish boundaries. That's what they all did, Benny thought. Recalling the whispered words shared between Ginger and him, they would not be victims today. They would stand united. In a powerful surge of courage, Benny stepped forward, his heart racing as he found his voice, booming louder than his fears. "We won't back down. We are here together. You won't hurt her." He barked, his small body poised protectively in front of Clara, the squirrel tucked behind him, trembling but resolute. The alpha wolf paused, surprise flickering across its sharp features as it assessed this bold yet fragile family standing their ground in defiance. The pack behind it hesitated, sensing the tempest of emotions playing out, between them fear and bravery intertwined. "Are you asking for a fight?" The alpha spoke, its voice deep and resonating through the air. "We are just trying to protect those who cannot protect themselves," Benny replied, trembling but pouring strength into every syllable. He thought of the bond he had with Clara, Tom, and the tiny squirrel. And something within him ignited a fire of belonging that refused to dim. He looked back at his family, taking in the unwavering determination in Clara's eyes. "You must know the circle of life. We all share this land," the alpha continued, its tone still edged with uncertainty. "You may not understand the balance of our realm, but we are not evil. We, too, want what is best for our families." Benny hesitated, second-guessing. The air hung heavy with questions. Could he really trust these wolves, just like he had learned to trust his own family? Ginger stepped forward, aligning her golden silhouette beside Benny. "Then let's share," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "We protect one another. Respect is all it takes. All living things feel fear. We understand. We all deserve a chance." The alpha's gaze softened a fraction, and Benny felt a spark of hope flaring within him. "Perhaps we have been too focused on instinct," it mused, turning to the pack. "But never have we seen such courage in those so small and fragile. We will keep our distance, for now. Your bravery demands respect." As those words settled in the air, another growl erupted, deep and menacing from within the pack. But the alpha turned sharply. "We do not pursue conflict today. If you challenge this bond," it gestured to Benny and his family, "the consequences may outweigh our intentions." Benny felt the atmosphere shift, a collective exhalation. The pack, gauging their leader's response, began to fall back, fading into the shadows. Benny watched in awe as the alpha signaled one last look in their direction. As if acknowledging the moment branches could grow from a shared truth. Relief washed over Benny like warm sunlight breaking through the clouds. They had weathered the storm, united in their journey. Clara bent down, tears glistening in her eyes as she hugged Benny and gave Ginger a grateful look. "You were incredible," she exclaimed, a radiant smile breaking through. Benny barked softly, feeling the weight of love and respect wrap around him like a warm blanket. The tiny squirrel climbed down from Ginger, its eyes alight with innocence, born from survival. They were family now, woven together by shared experiences and threats faced. As they started back towards the safety of the Wilson farm, Benny felt the beginnings of a new chapter, unfolding a world of possibilities woven by courage, kinship, and a promise to protect one another. Ginger trotted beside him, their steps matching. And Benny knew they were like stars finding a place in the vast night sky, destined to shine brighter together. Together, a promise whispered on the breeze, carried through the trees and into the warmth of the coming dawn. Now, as the sun began to rise, bringing with it the promise of a new day. Benny and the Wilsons stood united, ready to face whatever hardships or joys the journey ahead might hold. This is where Benny's adventure culminated. But I need your support to keep bringing these stories alive. You need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss out on the next incredible tale. Leave a like right this second to help spread the joy and excitement through the algorithm. Comment your feelings and reactions to this heartwarming ending below. What did Benny's journey inspire in you? And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this beautiful transformation. Your support is what drives this channel. Let's keep the magic alive.